me see, where is Erin Fusco in the invite section? Sweet, we're telling your followers. Invited Erin Fusco. Hang on, we're telling more followers to join your video. Okay, sorry. It's Erin Fusco. Bliss, please don't act up on live. Bliss, I'm going live, please. I asked you guys not to be weird. Okay, so Erin, you should be getting an invite. Yes, that's weird. It's asked me. Okay, hang on. It may take a few accepts. I don't know why it. Is it working, Erin? Is unable to join. Hold on. I'm gonna invite you again, Erin, because it says that it says Erin Fusco is unable to join. Hello.
Oh, howdy.
There we go.
It worked.
Hello.
Hi.
Howdy do. Welcome everybody to the first episode of Around the Realm with your host, me, Zelda, and our first guest, Erin Fusco, America's best friend.
Oh, yes, yeah, of course, and America's best friend.
How are you doing today?
Good. Wow, what a Tuesday. What a day after our very first episode.
I know. It's finally something good to bring to Mondays, which is why I was happy that we were releasing them on Mondays, because, you know, everybody's so unhappy with Mondays. But now we have something to look forward to.
I know. Now there's a reason that Monday is good. And now there's a reason Tuesday is good as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason like every week is good now because we've got so much good stuff coming up. So
It's true.
So, how was it like watching the first episode? Oh, hello, new people.
Hi, as everyone comes in.
Yeah. How was it like watching the first episode? Because I know it's been like, what, 2 years since recording?
It's been a hot minute. It's been a bit of time. Yeah, I mean, so I feel like Carmen kind of talked about this the other day on live, but like he had this idea cooking for a while. But we met like in March, like right before the pandemic. Sort of. We met through a friend of a friend. We were both in the same place at the same time, but didn't meet in person. But my friend met him, and then she was like, role-playing games, you gotta meet Erin. And at that point in time, can't stress enough, she had never played a role-playing game with me. She just knew I liked them. And also, it's always good to have friends who are like hype people, who can just be like, this kid, absolutely great. So she had no basis for this other than me being like, yeah, I like role-playing games. And she was like, I know Erin, she likes them. I'm just going to tell Carmen she's great. So it was 2020 that we were filming this, which is wild that it was so long ago.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I'm sorry if you can hear dogs. I'm dog sitting, so if you hear like snorting or creature noises, that is them. So how did you come up with Win? Like, you give us like a little bit of a basics. Like, did it take you long? Did it kind of come natural? Is she similar or different to you?
Well, as you can ask any of my friends who have ever played a role-playing game with me, all of my characters, in a way, are very similar to me because I'm playing them. And, like, I like to do certain things and like to play certain characters when I play games. And so, at a certain point, like, all the characters are sort of just versions of me acting, you know? But, yeah, so I am not as type A as I tried to make Win out to be, but I really like to play rogues. So I like to do sneaky stabby stuff in like all sorts of games. But I also wanted somebody who was like charismatic because as a person, as is evidenced from this conversation, I like to talk a lot also. And I have played characters with low charisma in the past as well, so I was like, that's not always fun when you're trying to talk, but you're better at saying things than your character is sometimes. And you roll poorly and you're like, well, guess that wasn't convincing, you know? And so that's kind of where she started. Also, love a shapeshifter. And so when I found that changeling race, I was like, this is happening. We'll make it work.
So you said you found the changeling. Was this like your first official D&D, like, what is it called, campaign?
No, I had been playing D&D for a couple years. So I had never played, when I was growing up, I always wanted to play D&D. Like, I always knew what it was, and it seemed fun, and Community had an episode where they play D&D, and I was like, that seems fun. But, like, growing up, the people that I knew who played D&D sort of made it very clear that it wasn't a space that I, a woman, would be welcome in. And I don't think, like, knowing the people I knew who played D&D when I was, like, in high school, I don't think I would have had fun then either. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I'm kind of glad that I never did, and I just kept it as this thing like that would be fun one day. But it wasn't until I was like an adult person, and my friend introduced me to the Adventure Zone, and I listened to it, and I said, this is just improv. This is actually just improv, and I know how to do that. That doesn't seem that hard.
Yeah, Ash and I were touching on something similar, like how we, like, we were both like a little bit nervous about doing like D&D stuff, because you never know when joining a group, like, if they're so bent on the rules, like you have to do exactly this, it personally, it makes it less fun. Like, I mean, when when you're really doing it, it's improv, and it's okay if some rules are overlooked when you're having fun and you're creating a story. That's to me, that's really what matters.
Yeah, I agree too. Like, the rules are there to help you and give you guidelines to tell a story and to, like, have fun and have this adventure. But if they aren't working for you or not having fun for you and your table, like, just change them.
Exactly.
Or find another system or something. Like, there's a million tabletop games out there. Like, it's just a structure to help you tell the story, but when it doesn't serve you, you can cut it loose. Change the rules. Yeah.
So I love in the first episode how we really quickly get to know who everybody is, like, especially Martin Money, when he talks about ditching morals for money. And, like, ditching poor Nightingale Switchblade. I mean, when I saw Nightingale's, like, characters, like, he's so cute. How could he have such a deadly name?
Right, yeah. Well, it's bad for an adventuring. That's what Martin tells him. It's bad.
Yeah, it's bad.
Too aggressive.
You gotta change your name. Oh, poor guy. And I mean, I know Wynn's like, Wynn's kind of like the glue that, like, holds them together, because I feel like it would be absolute total chaos. I mean, especially since everybody was like, Arya was like backwards at one point, like not even facing the right direction during the group. So
yeah, that is something that, like, I think I tend to just fall into in a party, in those dynamics. Like, in my personal life, I'm probably more of a mom friend. Sometimes. And so I think when I'm playing games also, like, I am very much more like, let's stay on task. Let's, I love the chaos. I'm bad at creating it. So my lane is usually like, how do we force this back into some semblance of a story before we just, like, run off into the desert?
And that's okay, because every group needs a mom character. Otherwise, it's just complete and utter chaos. I mean, every time you, me, and Carmen have hung out, you have been the glue that has kept the train going.
Which is so funny, because I don't think anyone, like, would have, like, if you could ask other people individually, like, do you think Erin is, like, a chaos agent? People would be like, yeah, for sure. And somehow I am always the straight man playing opposite, like, other people, which feels like it shouldn't be me, but it is.
Carmen says, it's America's best friend. Could you please stop trying to hop on?
I can't see the chat for some reason.
Oh, maybe. I think if you like.
Mm-hmm, yes. Hello, I do technology. Hello,
I do technology. I do.
Listen, I'm not gonna mess with it if my internet's working. You know what I mean? You have
Yeah,
to.
yeah.
You read the chats to me.
I'll read the chats to you. Yes, Carmen commented, "It's America's best friend." Hello, man of cars.
I wonder if I post something if it'll come up. I don't know. Well, I can see that, so I don't know. You can see what I blocked Carmen clearly.
You blocked Carmen. Yes. Hello, everybody. In the that's tuning in. Hello. Drop any questions, any comments, but the chat can see you. Carmen says.
Good to know. Did you see my hello?
Yeah. Yeah. I see your hello.
Mystery. I don't know. You're gonna have to read it to me. I can't see it at all. I just see I joined, you waved at me, and then I said hello. That's all I got.
That's so weird.
I don't know.
It's okay. I got you. I got you.
Oops. But yeah, it was fun to go back and watch because I really hadn't seen it since I played in it, and I forgot, like, watching it back, it definitely feels like all of us have known each other for years and have played with it. Like, I felt it playing it too, but like that was maybe the first or second time all of us had like been on a call together.
Yeah, which
Like,
is absolutely insane to me because Carmen said like, yeah, like we just met, and I'm like, what?
we were a very, like, in terms of casting, Carmen did a great job of like finding the right personalities because so quickly we got into the yes, just like yes anding each other. Someone would say something and we'd be like, yep, that's correct and true, and we are building on it now. Good job.
Question from Carmen. He says, I have a question. What was the inspiration for your character?
Carmen, I feel like we sort of talked about this. You're a little late to the party.
He came in a little late.
I don't know that, like, she was inspired by anything other than, like, I knew I wanted to play Changeling. Maybe the race had just been announced, or I had just gotten the source book for Changelings or something. But I was like, this is fun. This is like a shapeshifter that is interesting to play with. I think it's like just a very interesting concept of like you can be whoever you want. Like, who are you? Like, how to find who you are. And then, like I said, like I like playing rogues, and I think it balanced out the party well. And so Win is actually the like an inquisitive rogue, so you know you can have like a subclass or whatever. So she's good at like telling when people are lying and like doing insight checks and stuff, which you can see in this first episode as well. And so I thought that that made sense when we were like the party with the last human, the Glee team, which stands for something, and I have it written down and I don't remember where it is.
Yeah, it's GLII.
Yes, it's GLII.
Oh, you told me.
I had it because it came from a joke during, I think we had one session 0, and it came from a joke where we just kept calling ourselves like something really long, and then we smushed it into an acronym that Carmen hated, but we did become the Glee team.
Carmen says, oops. It's okay. You came in a little late. It's fine. It's fine.
Opportunity. I love talking about me, Carmen. It's fine.
I love talking about me. So instead of me bombarding you with questions, is there anything specific that you wanted to talk about in this in the first episode? I mean, I'm like trying so hard because since I've seen the whole thing, I'm like, okay, this happened in the first episode. This happened in the first episode. I rewatched it again. It was so cool watching it again, even though I've seen the final product, but it was cool seeing it with everybody else. Hear that, lawyers? It's an acronym. Carmen.
It was always an acronym, Carmen. I think it's like intrepid something. That's what the II is. I don't remember.
Good leadership. Good.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll let you know. You can turn it into a social post or something.
What do you guys think it is? Post in the comments.
Grand leadership. I don't know. Inspirational. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But yeah, so I thought that it's so fun and wild just to see like how quickly we picked it up, like knowing that like before we started recording these were strangers and we just immediately were like on board and like had a party dynamic. It feels this is the talkback part of the talkback show with all the secrets, but like it feels like we had played an adventure previous. Like, the desert adventure didn't exist. Like, doesn't exist. We just made up what it was. Carmen said you were coming back from some adventure in the desert. All the information we had. But it feels like we played that adventure because so quickly we were like, we have a routine. We, like, know who our characters are. We, like, have, like, a hierarchy of this. You know, we all have our place in this team. And it's just, that was really fun to go back and watch.
Carmen asked, now that you've watched the episode back, are there any moments that really stood out to you?
Well, I learned that drugs are good, Carmen. Carmen taught us drugs are good. I think actually that was sort of like the meaning of this.
I remember watching that. Okay, I wanted to mention that, but I couldn't remember if that was in the first or the second episode.
Yeah. Mady sees some guys smoking and assumed they were cigarettes. But Carmen just said they were smoking something, but assumed they were cigarettes and walked over and bummed a magical cigar off of them and ascended into the astral plane.
Goober's lost in intrigue. That was what Carmen said. I wonder if you pulled it. Did you pull it from the notes, Carmen? Is that it?
Goobers is absolutely not one of those words. I can't stress how goobers is definitely not the word. Hold on.
Oh,
do I have it?
Safe Magic says, never would have guessed this was a first session. You guys play off of each other perfectly, and I agree.
That's just the magic of all of these really talented people, and just, yeah, the vibes were extremely correct for all of us.
I'm so sorry if you can hear her. Did you guys ever, like, plan anything beforehand? Like, because I mean, I feel like everybody, you know, everybody has a role that makes the group perfect. Like, you know, Win keeps everybody together, and everybody else, like, you know, there's just like a role, you know, like the last human. Like, was that made beforehand, or was that like something you guys all mutually met on and agreed on, like, or was that just kind of like thrown in?
So there was a little bit of like chatting beforehand. Mylan, who plays Mady, like had broached this idea because Carmen had given us like a world building document of like, I don't know, 3 pages or something, where he was like, here's all the like locations that I think I like that you would know as a character in this world, and like just a general idea of what this world is. And he had said like humans are basically extinct. And so Mylan had this idea of like, oh, but can I be like the last human? Ooh. And then I think that just like sparked an idea for all of us, just being like, oh, like we are the party that is like the last human party. Like that is what we trade on. Like that is our like claim to fame. Besides just being good at being adventurers, we're like, oh, and this is, which I think you see a little bit in the bar too, when Win is sort of like the last human, what? Because that is their like marketing plan. So we had talked about that a little bit, of like that being our draw, but I don't know that we had like fallen into specific roles. I had built Win to sort of be like the rogue who signs the contracts, their marketing manager, basically. But it wasn't a big discussion that we had.
And there's other things that, like Michael 1 and Michael 2, or like Tony the Pony, that I honestly had like almost forgotten about. I was like, oh my god, I forgot about Michael 1 and 2. And I can never remember Faruna's name.
Yeah, and her daughter Xerxes.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Tony the Pony was I think it was a bit that we had done during character creation when Carmen said we could have a horse. We were like, oh, do we have like a cart or a horse or something? And he was like, yeah, you can have like a way to get around. And somebody made a bit that was like, his name is Tony the Pony. He's a fat horse. He's a fat pony. And we just like thought it was a joke. And then it was brought from that session 0 where we were just like goofing around into the episode. And Carmen as a DM is very good at just being like, yep, that's true. Correct.
Yep. Sure. Yes,
and that's how Tony came to be.
So random, but within this.
Oh.
Internet D&D dice or regular? Which is your preference?
I don't remember what I did for this game. I feel like I rolled on D&D Beyond for this game.
Oh, really?
I think I did. But, or maybe like the first. So I have since gone while stuck inside during COVID and playing, let me say, a lot of tabletop games. I've since gone mostly to digital, not out of like preference, just out of like convenience sake. So D&D Beyond has like an automatic dice roller. Some games I've played in have used like Roll20, and like it's really easy to just like do a roll in there and the math happens for you, because anyone who has to be like, what's 17 plus 7? You're like, what is math? It's much easier to make a computer do it, but I like rolling dice. Like personally, I like rolling dice, but I think in like an all virtual setting, they're just like easy tools that I'm lazy, and so I like to just press a button.
I always thought that too, because like, I mean, even when like ebooks first came out, I was like, I'm never going to use those. But then I was like, well, it's actually a lot easier. So I've just been thinking about, I'm wanting to get like more into tabletop, especially since, like, I'm around a group that doesn't really care too much about the rules and everything. So I've just been back and forth between physical dice and internet dice.
Yeah, listen, if you're gonna play a tabletop game, you have to own dice and buy dice that you might never use. That's just part of it. That's part of it. You started collection and then you have a hoard of dice and then you just live your life that way.
Question here. Episode 1 ends on a cliffhanger with the party split. What was your experience at the end of that first session, and how did that differ from your experience at the start of the session?
It made us realize that Carmen was gonna do this to us, I think, every single episode. Yes. So it made us realize that he is going to torture us sort of the entirety of the season, and I think end every episode, just about every episode, on a cliffhanger, maybe. But all it does is make us want to play more. So we recorded these weekly, I think. And so it would just make us be like, no, we want to do another one right now. I don't want to wait another week. I want to play this right
now. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I love how he ends it on cliffhangers, because we end it with the mysterious half dragon, and then I'm just like, I mean, I feel like that's also like when I'm watching series and stuff like too, that's what gets me to binge watch on a cliffhanger, and it's always so funny because I see your faces all the time, and or like,
yeah, it's infuriating, and especially us being split. So the party was split, which, like, first rule of D&D is don't split the party, and we did it so many times in that first episode. We're like, we'll just cut. But in terms of like a tabletop show, it is, and especially recording it over distances when you're not all around the table, it's a lot. You have to be a lot more conscious about not cutting people off and like giving people enough room in like scenes. And so even though it is bad like party mechanics to split the party because you never know what's going to happen, I think it makes for good scenes where you're it's a lot easier to like balance with one other person rather than the 3 other members of the party.
Exactly. And I feel like, just with the group, just going back to Nightingale Switchblade, I feel like,
your favorite. You love that little goblin.
My favorite. I don't know why. I feel like Nightingale has the potential to be as popular as like the next Baby Yoda. He's so freaking cute, and I feel like, he needs to be the forever intern. He needs to never leave, and he needs to stay there 24/7.
We haven't even gotten his permission slip signed.
I know.
They went there to get his internship form filled out, and they witnessed a murder, which like is not always good.
I mean, it's not the best, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers. I mean, can't Nightingale like take like a semester off or something like that? I feel like it'd be a lot more beneficial personally just to be with all of you guys and Tony the Pony. But I mean, hey.
Well, listen, there are a bunch of gangs at that adventuring academy.
Exactly. Yeah, all that illegal magic getting passed around is not good for Nightingale. Poor boy.
There are 2 rival gangs who are both involved with illegal magic, and they both are at the school, and it's unclear what their motives are.
Nightingale and Keith mini adventure, Carmen says. I feel like that would be a chaotic nightmare because there's no Win to keep them on track. Nightingale's not going to keep them on track. Keith's not going to keep them on track.
So that's fun to watch too. You don't need a Win in a party.
That's true, but I feel like without a Win to hold you back, it's either going to be a very short-lived adventure because the adventures are going to be short-lived, or it's just going to be pure chaos. Well, as we wrap up, because it is almost 6:30, any final thoughts that you would like to leave with the first episode? I mean, personally, I feel like we said, we touched on the cliffhanger. It wrapped up perfectly. We got to see a few more characters and just get a touch of the group based on who they are. We developed their personalities really quickly. So any final thoughts, and just final thoughts before we head on to next week, episode 2, leaving off at that mysterious half dragon?
Well, I think the only thing I want to say is a formal apology to Mylan, because I did immediately block her after to flirt with Keith in the bar scene. And in my recollection, it was pretty clear he was hitting on her and she was going to leave with him. And Win was like, hey, you're drunk. Maybe we talk to him tomorrow when we're sober. But when I was watching him back, it was just like, he talked to her. Immediately Win was like, no talking to her, no thank you. And I was like, ooh, I do think maybe she jumped in a bit. In my mind, I was like, I'm helping my friend out. But I think maybe she jumped the gun a bit, and hopefully it doesn't impact, hopefully that and the murderous half dragon don't impact the date Matey has out in the dunes next episode.
Oh, that's actually kind of great. You just answered Carmen's question. You said, can you give a teaser of episode 2 if you can remember? LOL. My teaser is Nightingale Switchblade. That's one word. That's going to leave you wondering, and that's it. That's all you're going to get from me. You're going to have to tune in next week.
Yeah.
So
I'm proud of all of our actions. I think actually, knowing the shape of the season, we accomplished a lot in this first episode.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I personally, just with watching mini scenes on mini shows on Netflix and everything, it kind of drags along, but this was really so full of adventure packed. They just finished this epic journey, then they go get tipsy at the bar, and then they want an intern, and then Michael 1 and Michael 2 cause chaos, and then we end with somebody getting unalived. So hey, it's an eventful first episode. Honestly, actually, I feel like episode 1 is one of my personal favorites, and that's very rare for me in a show, because usually I don't like
the pilot.
Yeah, I usually.
So you're saying the quality dips, so nobody should watch. You're saying the goes downhill. Just kidding. It's great. Watch every episode.
Yes, just please.
Everyone. We're telling you right now, you have to watch all the episodes.
It only gets better from here, but it's just my favorite. Well, Erin Fusco, America's best friend, thank you so much for coming on to our first episode of Around the Realm. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and asking all of your wonderful questions, especially you, Carmen, the man of cars. We look forward to next week of Around the Realm and next week of Sovereign of Death. We've given you our little teaser, so take those breadcrumbs, try and make a puzzle. Oh, you got glasses too. Yes. Oh, kind of similar. Yes. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you for being here, Erin.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. Glad I could be the first one. And we look forward to having you all watch episode 2 next week.
Heck yeah, you guys. We will keep you guys updated with more stuff. Have a good night, everybody.